Hello everybody! So this time around I'm doing a speed paint for the Free Base Friday ref sheet base, and due to her recent popularity on my TikTok, I decided to make a Jaquin base, because Jaquins are amazing and adorable and I love them with all my heart. They're giant flying feathered kitties and they just make my heart happy. A lot of people don't even know what they are, let alone where they come from, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about them and gush about how much I love Elana of Avalor, because it is an amazing Disney Channel show. It's got fantastic characters, good life lessons, the animation is pretty impressive, and I love the various character designs and stuff. It's so different to see Disney branching out with an ethnic princess like this. And I really wish it got way more appreciation, because the show is honestly fantastic. I think the first time I saw it, I was over at a friend's house who had little kids, and they had the Disney Junior channel on, and I saw a clip of the, I want to say the first movie? I think it's the first movie, when Elana breaks out of the amulet, and I believe Sophia the First. It was like a weird crossover between Sophia the First and Elana of Avalor. The animation was a little wonky. I much prefer the way it's animated in the show. I like how much more stylized and crisp the shapes are. Like, I appreciate 3D animation in general, but there's some times where it's like, you didn't have to go that extra. Like, the animation's almost too much, and it's almost too smooth. I don't like how smooth it looks in the movies. I like how much more chunky and sharp the shapes are. It reminds me kind of like Book of Life kind of stuff, with those like wooden doll style animations. It's so unique, and it really radiates that, what's the word I'm looking for? Mexican energy? Spanish energy? I think there's a word, but my brain is struggling to think of what said word is. But you know what I'm talking about, right? It's just that kind of culture that seems to be found in Mexico. Things like the Day of the Dead. I'm gonna butcher that word if I try to say it. I'm stupid, dumb American. I struggle with pronouncing languages. I'm sorry. Oh no. But it's that whole genre, and it just has such a neat style to it. And from the clip that I saw at my friend's house, I was like, whoa, look at that. It's like a big cat character, and they've got wings and feathers, and they're really, really pretty and complicated spots, which make my heart happy. Ah ha 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 ha. So I wanted to learn more about what it was, saw that it was called Elana of Avalor, started doing a bunch of research on it, and then I want to say within like 3 or 4 days, I binged the entire thing on Disney+, fell absolutely in love with the whole story, and particularly with the Jaquins. They come from a magical world within Avalor, well, kind of within, but also like it's its own dimension, and it's called Viastrea. It's really, really cool. There's like all these really fancy, elegant, detailed, rainbow-colored creatures of just all sorts of varieties and like weird hybrids. They really radiate a kind of Alebrije energy, and I love that about it. I mean, I love the way the Alebrijes in Coco looked, and seeing it here in Elana of Avalor, it felt very reminiscent of that. I think Elana of Avalor actually came first, but Alebrijes are something that exist within Mexican culture, so it's really cool to see how the different artists and the different teams interpret these creatures and these stories. And I just loved everything about the Jaquins world. I loved their characters. I think my favorite Jaquin character is probably a very close tie between Migs and Luna, because I absolutely love Luna's quirky, can-do attitude. I want to say she's voiced by Yvette Nicole Brown, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I think that's who voices her. But she just has this like, kind of spunky attitude, and I love that about her character. It's so fun to watch, and how she problem solves and figures things out, and her sarcasm is great. And Miggs is just so serious all the time. And he's this big stocky dude, but then when later on in the series, he gets his mate and he gets his own 3 little babies, he goes full like dad mode and just he gushes over his babies and over worries, and he's always trying to do the best and impress them no matter what. I love that so much about his character. It just feels like the most genuine dad energy. And I love Miggs for that. It's so fun, honestly. There's so many great episodes in the series that are amazing to watch. The life lessons are great. The creature and character designs are awesome. The only real nitpick I guess I have about Elana of Avalor in general is some of the episodes feel a little bit... for lack of a better word, I'll say childish. Like, there's fart jokes every so often that are like, farts are funny. I don't really find it funny. I don't see why it's necessary to have a very serious moment ruined because a character farts. I don't like that kind of humor. There's also some cliche moments that happen, particularly with the villain characters, where you're watching what they're doing and your brain is going, it's Disney. They wouldn't do the most yep, they did. They did the most obvious thing. Okay, yeah, saw that coming 200 miles away. I knew exactly what was going to happen. It's too cliche, too predictable. But for the most part, I can forgive that. There's also a couple filler episodes that are kinda Like, I feel the show would have been fine without those fillers. They just felt weirdly out of place. Like, there's this one where they get cursed and get turned into, like, little blocky Minecraft people because they were making fun of Isabel for being short, I guess. Like, as a short person, I was even very confused what was going on. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. The art style changes so drastically. It felt like they had 2 totally different teams working on that episode, and it was weird, and I didn't quite know how I felt about it. It was just, Could have been fine without it. There's also a couple characters that are obnoxious, and I really wish they weren't in the show because they do things that are like, why? It's not necessary, Disney. It's really not necessary. Like, you don't need to do it. You really don't. Just say beans and make it go away. You don't need to include these annoying characters. But trying to get back onto the topic of, like, Viestrea and the Jaquins and everything with them, they have just so much personality and lore developed around them that I wish the Jaquins would get their own spin-off series. I feel it'd be really cool to learn more about their world and how their hierarchy works, because apparently they have ruling bodies. Like, there is King, Skylar is the prince and the next in line for the throne. But there's also, like, royal guards and scouts and protectors that specifically live in Avalor. I wish there was more content with them that would kind of explain more about their backstories, because it's super cool. One of my favorite episodes is when Mateo makes a shape-shifting potion that turns himself, Elena, and Gabe into Jaquins, and they all have really cool Jaquin forms that have little traits of their human forms, and then they fly to go to a party. And it was such a fun episode, and it allowed me to see more character designs, and I think that episode alone was really what sparked my desire to make my own Jaquin character and shine more light on them, because I was like, well, if Elena can be a Jaquin, then you know what? I can be a Jaquin too. so I'm gonna make myself a Jaquin. And thus, Kashika came to be. And I am so happy with how she looks, how her suit looks. I think she has a really unique personality trait to her, and just everything about Kashika makes my brain happy. And I'm so happy that she exists as one of my new sonas, making Kashika and Winza my only fursunas. Neffertiti's just a moniker, but I'll make a video about sonas and monikers sometime in the future when I have time. But for now, I have finished this beautiful reference, so thank you for joining me on my ramble session here as I rant about Elana of Avalor, because it's awesome. If you want to pick up this base, you can get it by either supporting me on Patreon at the $5 tier or higher, or you can go check out my website, artbyneffertity.com/store. All the bases are alphabetized, and if you just want to pick it up for free, you can get the free line art also from my website, artbyneffertity.com/free-bases. Thank you very much for watching. Not going to do a patron or outro screen or anything like that. This is just going to be me signing off and saying I will see you next Friday. Go watch Elana of Avalor. It's awesome.